Dive, where we unpack the most complex global business strategies and pull out the knowledge you really need.
Today we're looking at something pretty monumental.
Yeah.
It's the race for AI supremacy, and the leader we're focusing on is a company you probably think of for cars.
Tesla.
Exactly. We're watching them make this incredibly audacious, just a huge high-stakes gamble.
And it's not just that they're participating in the AI race, they are trying to fundamentally reshape the entire supply chain.
Right. They're not just buying chips from the big guys. They're challenging them head-on by building the whole thing themselves,
Right.
vertically integrating everything.
This massive kind of all-in strategy really rests on two big pillars we need to get into. The first is their custom-built supercomputer, which is called Dojo.
And the second is this incredibly aggressive roadmap of their own AI chips. The AI4, AI5, and now the AI6 series. It's moving so fast.
Yeah, and this whole transition is just profoundly strategic. It seems to be driven by, the reality of global chip scarcity, the cost.
Oh, absolutely. The cost of sourcing hardware from the established players is massive, and it's about control. At the end of the day, this is about strategic control, from the camera lens in the car all the way down to the silicon that's running the final model.
So our mission today is to really get the why behind all this and to look at the alliances they've had to build to even make it possible. So let's unpack this. I mean, what does it actually take for a car company to challenge a giant like Nvidia at its own game?
It takes, well, billions of dollars. And, immense intellectual capital and a willingness to accept just an unprecedented amount of risk.
Okay, so let's start with Dojo, the central nervous system of this whole operation.
Right.
Elon Musk first teased this concept way back in 2019 at their Autonomy Day.
And at the time, it sounded a bit like...
Like typical Silicon Valley ambition.
Exactly. But now, you fast forward 5 years, you see this explosion of large language models, of machine learning. And that early bet, it looks incredibly prescient.
It seems like it was foresight that was really born out of necessity.
That's a good way to put it. The need for Dojo is a direct response to how much they depended on Nvidia for training their neural nets.
And we know they've been a huge customer. I mean, billions invested.
A massive customer. Their main data center at Giga, Texas, it's running on something like 50,000 H100 GPUs. And that's not even counting Musk's other venture, XAI, which is building a facility for another 100,000 of them.
That's a staggering dependency for a company whose entire future is basically riding on AI performance.
It is. And that reliance, that's a vulnerability. As Musk has said pretty pragmatically, the demand for these chips is just so intense that even a customer as big as Tesla faces these painful supply bottlenecks.
And you lose your leverage on pricing.
You lose all your leverage. So his goal is pretty clear. He said, the best supplier is no supplier. And Dojo is the engineering path to that independence.
So we know it's a supercomputer, but what's different about it? I mean, why build this when you could just buy more Nvidia hardware?
Well, because Dojo isn't a general-purpose supercomputer. It's not designed to, run climate models or calculate financial risk. It's a purpose-engineered training system. It's specialized for two of Tesla's very specific, very high-throughput jobs. The computer vision for full self-driving, FSD,
and the Optimus robot.
and the vision and locomotion for the Optimus robot. That's it.
So the nugget here is really that specialization.
Precisely. The heart of Dojo is the custom D1 chip. They designed this thing completely in-house, and it's built by TSMC over in Taiwan.
Okay.
And this D1 chip is just optimized for high-throughput AI training. It basically sacrifices all the flexibility of a general GPU for massive speed and efficiency on their specific problems.
So what's the scale of this thing right now, and why is it located where it is?
So the initial investment for V1, it was steep, reportedly around $500 million.
Wow.
In terms of raw power, V1 is still, pretty modest. It's estimated to be roughly equivalent to maybe 8,000 H100s. But again, it's about optimization, not just raw speed.
And the location.
All right, the initial big deployment is in Buffalo, New York. And that choice wasn't random. It was picked specifically for its stable infrastructure, great cooling capacity, and crucially, access to low-cost green energy from hydroelectric dams.
So why does the power source matter so much for an AI cluster?
Because running AI at this scale is just incredibly power-hungry. Cooling costs, electricity, that becomes a dominant part of your cost structure for training.
Got it.
So by being in Buffalo and using hydropower, they're slashing the long-term cost per unit of AI training. It's a huge economic advantage.
Which really leads to the end goal, right? Even with that huge initial price tag, the whole play is about driving down the long-term operational cost of AI.
Exactly. And if it works, Musk has floated this, hugely ambitious idea that Dojo could eventually be leased out.
So moving from an internal tool to a revenue-generating platform.
Yeah, maybe even challenging giants like Amazon Web Services in the compute market someday.
Okay, so that's the training engine. But all that learning has to run on the road, in the car, which means we have to talk about the AI chips themselves.
The inference hardware.
Yes, and here's where it gets really interesting. The custom chip roadmap. Tesla's internal silicon team has already deployed several million AI chips, what they call AI4.
Right. In vehicles and data centers. And what's fascinating is the competitive advantage you get from designing the hardware and the software at the same time. That total vertical integration.
Because they know exactly what tasks the chip needs to do.
Precisely. The current AI4 chip already shows this. It can process, get this, 1 million video pixels in about a millisecond.
But they're speeding up dramatically. So we have the current AI4. The AI5 is apparently close to tape out.
Meaning it's almost ready for manufacturing.
Right. And they've already started early design work on AI6. That is just an aggressive pace.
It's immense pressure. Their stated goal is volume production of a brand new custom AI chip every single year.
Every 12 months.
Every 12 months. I mean, that's a refresh cycle you usually only see from specialized semiconductor companies, not an automaker. And when Musk talked about the new AI5 chip, he made this truly staggering claim.
The 40x claim.
He said it would be 40 times better than the AI4.
Okay, I have to push back on that a little. 40 times better. Usually you see generational improvements of 2x, maybe 3x. How do you possibly get a 40x leap in 1 year? What are they even measuring?
That is the critical question. When they say 40x better, they don't mean general compute power. They're almost certainly talking about performance per watt or performance on their very specific, tailored workload.
Okay, so how do they do that?
They do it by radically simplifying the chip's architecture. The AI5 design, it just eliminates traditional components, things like the standard GPU, the image signal processor. Those are gone because those functions are now built directly into the specialized AI core.
So if I'm getting this right, the 40x gain comes from just stripping out all the extra baggage.
Exactly. A general GPU has to be able to render video games, run databases, do all sorts of general math. Tesla only cares about the very specific math that FSD needs.
Right.
So by stripping away all that other stuff, they create a much smaller, way more power-efficient chip, a so-called half-reticle design that uses dramatically less power in the car.
And that's huge for battery life and range.
It's vital. It's about efficiency, not just raw speed.
And this ambition is it's enormous. Musk actually claimed the company expects to manufacture their AI chips at higher volumes than all other AI chips combined. That statement, if it's true, redefines them. They go from being a consumer of silicon to a potential titan of semiconductor production.
Which brings us right to the manufacturing challenge. To match that kind of scale, you need massive commitments.
Absolutely.
And Tesla has this dual-path AI infrastructure strategy. They keep using Nvidia where they have to while they build out Dojo. But to get AI4, and especially AI5 and AI6, off the page and into millions of cars, they need partners. They need foundries.
And this is where all the geopolitics and these massive contracts come into play. For the AI5, they're using a dual foundry strategy.
Right. That's splitting production between Samsung's factory in Texas and TSMC's new plant in Arizona.
And the goal here isn't just to secure supply. The goal is to create an oversupply.
Which is really interesting. Getting two top-tier partners for the same chip is incredibly complex, managing the IP, the supply chain.
Yeah.
But it hedges their bets. If one facility has a problem, they're not dead in the water.
But the truly blockbuster deal is the one for the AI6.
The one with Samsung. Yeah.
We're talking about a massive 8-year contract, 2025 to 2033, valued at $16.5 billion.
It's astronomical, and it's Samsung's largest foundry order ever. I mean, you have to put this in perspective. TSMC is the global gold standard, right? They have something like 65% of the market.
The 5-star restaurant of chip making.
Exactly. And Samsung is desperately trying to win market share. So this contract is a massive, massive win for their struggling foundry business. It locks in a huge customer at the absolute bleeding edge of technology.
And that bleeding edge is where the risk is, isn't it? They're targeting 4-nanometer and 3-nanometer processes right away, with a plan to move to 2-nanometer for the AI6.
Absolutely. The entire success of that chip, the AI6, it all hinges on whether Samsung can deliver good yield rates on a 2-nanometer process.
Which is notoriously difficult.
Incredibly difficult. The slightest variation and your yield rates, the number of good chips you get per wafer, they just collapse.
Yeah.
If Samsung stumbles on that, Tesla's whole AI6 schedule could fall apart instantly.
What's also interesting is that this is happening at Samsung's Texas fab, which got a big boost from the US CHEPS Act.
It did, a $4.75 billion boost. So this is tied directly to the U.S. government's goal of bringing high-end chip production back onshore.
And look at the dynamic. Musk isn't just acting like a customer. He's pledging to walk the production line himself to optimize things.
Which is highly unusual. It shows you just how little room for error they feel they have.
And even with this massive Samsung deal, Musk has hinted that it might not be enough. He suggested Tesla might need to build its own gigantic chip factory, a Tesla TeraFab.
It sounds less like a supply chain strategy and more like a space program. I mean, chip manufacturing is so capital intensive. The idea of building a fab starting at 100,000 wafer starts a month, it's a concept that will require hundreds of billions of dollars and years of work.
But it shows you the scale of demand they are projecting for their future AI and robotics programs.
It's almost unmeetable demand from their perspective.
So let's talk about what this colossal investment is actually for, the applications. Starting with the most immediate one, full self-driving.
Right, FSD. It needs to process just immense amounts of video data in real time. Dojo is custom built to accelerate the training for that, especially with the robotaxi unveil they've slated for October 2025.
And this shift to their own integrated system, it directly improves FSD performance, right?
It does. Tesla has moved away from the older kind of rule-based systems, the Boolean heuristics they use in V11. Now with V12 and onward, it's a pure neural network, a pattern-matching approach.
And that's what creates the more human-like driving behavior we hear about.
Exactly. Because the system is learning patterns from real-world data processed on Dojo, the car sort of develops an intuition. It knows to slow down for a speed bump naturally or handle a weird construction zone with the same caution a person would.
And we've seen results from that.
We have. Recent updates like V14.2 have reportedly smoothed out some of the biggest complaints, like that sudden brake stabbing or hesitation at intersections. The whole experience is just smoother.
And that rapid training ability is essential for taking FSD global.
Absolutely. FSD is now operating in 7 countries. South Korea was the latest. Every new country adds a ton of unique road data, new regulatory quirks. The speed of Dojo is the only way they can keep up with that kind of global expansion.
Okay, so beyond cars, what's the second major application?
The Optimus humanoid robot. Dojo is training Optimus right now for vision and navigation, and it's using a lot of the same data and algorithms they developed for FSD.
So that's the genius of this vertical integration loop.
That's it. The infrastructure they built for FSD, the data collection, the training, the custom chips, it's immediately leveraged for the robotics program.
But the long-term goal for Optimus is much bigger.
Oh, much grander. It's about training generalized AI models that can do language, reasoning, complex manipulation, things that require incredible precision.
So when you put it all together, what does this mean for the big picture?
It means Tesla is building a complete, fully closed AI ecosystem. They collect the data from the fleet, train the models on their own custom supercomputer, run the inference on their own custom chips inside the car or the robot, and then they deploy it.
An end-to-end loop that no one else controls.
No other major automaker, no other major tech company controls that loop completely. It gives them, in theory, unparalleled control over efficiency and cost.
So it's clear Tesla's decision to build its own compute is just a massive, calculated risk. It requires these strategic billions in R&D, securing these massive foundry contracts.
But it's a risk they seem to think is absolutely essential for their future in AI and robotics.
Yeah.
To break free from relying on external vendors.
Yeah. And the whole strategy really hinges on executing the 2 hardest parts of the chip business.
It does. First, you have to design a chip that actually provides a generational leap in performance on a very narrow task. And second, you have to convince a partner like Samsung to deliver high yield rates on these extremely advanced, difficult processes like 2 nanometer.
It's the ultimate tension. Radical specialization versus the generalized power of giants like Nvidia.
Exactly.
All right, so here's a final provocative thought for you to consider as we wrap up this deep dive. Given Tesla's aggressive commitment to creating an oversupply of these chips, and Musk's hints about turning Dojo into a competitor for AWS, what if the AI5 and AI6 succeed? I mean, wildly succeed in both performance and manufacturing yield. Could Tesla transition from just being a consumer of semiconductors to a major seller of AI compute services and custom hardware to other companies? Could they completely redefine the global AI supply chain?